Just giving it a quick test real quick here.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're I think we're good. Oh, we're live. Cool. All
And we're
right.
live.
Well, thank you all for joining us here on the Spy Shack podcast, the podcast where super fans get together to talk about the latest episode of Survivor. And this time we're going to be talking about the finale of Survivor 41. Before we even get there, though, I want to say sorry. We missed quite a bit of episodes this season. It's been super crazy. If it's not one of us, it's a couple of us at a time, right? But yeah, no, thank you guys
Yeah.
for joining us, and hopefully season 42 gets here pretty quickly, and we can go ahead and just go on a normal schedule and be able to do this on a weekly basis, and be a little bit more
Yes.
proactive in getting people out here because the links have been going out pretty late here. So yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad. I haven't had too much time to actually get the links ready with a lot of time to get people get here. That's usually what happens. But yeah, with me as always, Mark. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm finally done with all the performing shenanigans, so I'm free and available again right after the finale.
Perfect timing.
Doug?
So glad to be back, and I'm so ready to talk about this finale. I was up at like I think 6 a.m. this morning trying to watch the finale, and
Before everybody ruins it for you.
I know exactly, and I was so excited by the end of that. So let's go, let's go.
Doug, how are you doing?
I'm great. We had a history making season from start to finish. So there's so much to talk about. There was good, there was bad, there was mess, there was good gameplay, horrible gameplay. It was great. It's everything
A
you could
little bit of
ask for, in
everything.
my
Yeah, a little bit of
opinion.
everything. And like
Yeah.
we said
Yeah,
before, even a hot mess of a season of Survivor is better than no Survivor at all. But we'll talk about the little things that I think even last week when we were like, should we come on this week or not? There were still things that I wanted to see play out before I actually said anything about it because it could have really skewed my perception of the game. I think I'm fine at the end of the day, but we'll talk about that here shortly. Um, yeah, season 41 comes to an end with a 3 hour finale, pretty much. What do you guys think of the episode overall?
I am I'm happy with it generally speaking. Like overall picture wise, I am here for the 2.5 hour episode, half-hour reunion show. I'm sure we'll get into the actual format of the reunion, but I'm happy to see that we kind of have continued with the 2.5 hours of an episode.
I remember when they first did
Because
that.
even with that 2.5 hours, there was stuff where I was like, I need more.
Well, see, look, so no product placement anything here like that, but I used YouTube TV, and
Hmm.
the whole finale it's blocked out for 3 hours.
Yeah.
When I used to have Spectrum, they would break it to the 2 hour finale and then the what's it called, the reunion. But what happens there is that, especially I forgot what season they started doing this 2.5 hour finale.
Hmm.
All of a sudden it cut off, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Because I usually watch it about a couple of minutes behind, just so I can go towards forward through the commercials. And by the time the end of the episode, I'm already caught up. So when they
Hmm.
did that, I was like, wait, what happened? I didn't get to hear who won or what. Move over 30 minutes into the reunion. We have the votes right now. I think it was Triple H was when they started doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
There was like a stretch where it kept getting
Yeah.
longer and longer and longer. And now they kind of just treat it as one episode, which again, I'm here for. Mark, what
I'm
did you
over it.
think sort of overall of the finale?
first of all, that on location reading of the votes and reunion was absolutely fantastic. I didn't know that we needed that again, and especially when that means a reunion without all the all the fritz and frills that usually comes with a finale. Uh, so yeah, it was a meaty reunion discussion, even though we could have more. Um, and I went straight on to Survivor Twitter just to
Hmm.
see what everybody else had to say about it. And yeah, overall the season as a whole, the editing still needs a little bit of work because it's like Erica won, like how that's
Hmm.
a little bit of that from everybody, and from she had almost a unanimous win, so she
Yeah.
won for a good reason. For good reason, she wasn't robbed or anything, and she had good arguments in that final discussion, in that final jury discussion as well. So I was just kind of curious why we didn't see a whole lot of that through the
Hmm.
earlier parts of the season. That's the only big gripe I have with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think yeah.
I agree with that. I think for a season that was really strong in a lot of ways, the finale I think was actually pretty weak in a lot of ways. As fun as it was, and as interesting as a lot of stuff that was happening was, the edit is a huge problem. I mean, I would recommend checking out. There's a really great breakdown of editing over all 41 seasons by Rob's Fact Checker. I think put out a graph,
Hmm.
and it really highlights the fact that if you are a woman or a person of color, and especially if you are a person of color, your edit, even if you win, is going to be almost non-existent. And so, as much as they deserve praise on the casting side of things, they still very much need to improve their production and editing side of things. And I just don't understand, and I still don't get it, and I can't get it, and I don't think I ever will get it. Why season 41, especially after everything we saw in the finale, turned out to be the story of how Xander lost as opposed to why Erica won. Like by the time
Yeah.
we got to the end and by the time the jury was talking to Xander, it became clear that none of them really thought he was doing well anyway. So
Hmm.
why did the show
Hmm.
tell us all season long that he was doing a good job? Like I don't get it.
So much focus was on Xander throughout the entire season, and
Yeah.
I was convinced that he was winning
I was
tonight.
very
Like,
worried about it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's this 20-year-old kid is like legit going to win this game."
mm-hmm,
it,
mm-hmm,
it it sucks because of one reason here, and I mean more than one reason, but the reason that I'm gonna say it sucks here is because you can have a arc with a character who's doing really good, and then just falls at the end. We've seen it before,
Mhm.
but when it
yep,
overshadows the actual winner, that's when I have an issue with it, because as soon as they read the votes, I kind of was like, I needed to like think about it because I didn't know if I was good with it or not because I didn't see much of Erica, but
Mhm.
there was hidden somewhere in there because early in the season you saw Danny and you saw Deshawn talking about throwing a challenge. Danny didn't want to really do it, but Deshawn was the one more like we need to throw the challenge to get her out. There's got to be a reason for
Mhm.
that. She was a little bit
yeah,
sneaky because she also wanted to get Nasir out early on, or she didn't like what's her name, the other girl from Sydney.
Sydney.
Yeah,
Sydney.
she didn't like her very from the get go. It seems like so. It's not like she wasn't doing anything. I guess we got little
Yeah.
kernels of knowledge from there, but also it also has to kind of do with how they set the season up and with them winning all those episodes, right? We didn't see much
Mhm.
from that
Yeah.
tribe for such a long time.
I
Hmm.
will say, like, huge props to Erica's final tribal council. Like, I definitely don't want our entire discussion to be like, wow, they really didn't do Erica justice. I mean, we know they didn't, right? Like, we barely knew anything about her in the pre-merge. But like you said, Saul, like by the time she's at final tribal council explaining her game, it's clear that she was smart. It's clear that she knew what she was doing. I'm hesitant to make a Natalie White comparison because they played very different games, but they did both articulate very well how they managed the resources they felt they had in their tribal councils. And so they both end up in this weird situation where you're like, what did you do? Oh, wait, it sounds like you did things, but like we didn't really get to see it. So like I don't think they played similar games, but I do think there's a similar unfortunate comparison made there because they're both smart ladies who know what's up. Erica, I loved
Yep.
Erica's answer where she said a social game isn't just being best friends with everybody. A
No,
social game is knowing what you can do socially and doing it well.
yeah,
like that's
that's
great, knowing
definitely
your
what it
limits and
is.
playing
It's
them.
definitely what it is. Uh, I mean, like I said before, the best my favorite players haven't been the ones that are always the ones that are interacting with everybody or even open up to the crowd to the audience. Right? It's it's actual getting to know people. Like I've like from the very beginning. I like the way Richard and Rudy got what's it called became friends when
Hmm.
in normal life they probably would never even talk to each other. You
Hmm.
know, Steven and JT, they probably would never really come together if it's not for the show. It's those kind of relationships that I really like. And we apparently Erica had that with a lot of people in the season, but we just didn't see it. We saw it with a little bit with Heather. We apparently she was really close to Ricard as well. I think to Deshawn too, but we really didn't see much of it other than them talking on the beach, especially with Ricard and Erica talking about how loyal Xander is, and that they don't have to worry about him. As he was over here talking to Deshawn, maybe we should get rid of Ricard. But other than that, I don't think we saw much of the relationships that they talked about.
Luckily, the jury seemed to corroborate all of Erica's stories, right? At the very least, a viewer who knows kind of what to look for can see that Erica is saying things and the jury is agreeing with her. Whereas anytime Xander and Deshawn said something, you pretty much always saw at least one juror being like, you want to try that one again?
So here is... well, I guess let's talk about the order of people leaving the show.
Okay.
First person out is Ricard.
Oh,
that
devastated. Devastated.
I don't know. I'm a little torn about
Give it to us, Saul. Give it to. Well, he was a polarizing player, so give it to us.
I like Ricard. I really did like Ricard as a player, and I'll keep saying as a character because we don't really know him personally.
Yeah,
we can't really say I like him as a person or whatever. I like him as the character that we saw, and I guess I know that technically they're not characters, but we don't get to know everything about him, right? So that's my preamble for what I'm trying to say. I like Ricard enough that I wouldn't have been mad if he won.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have been really super mad at anybody winning this season because this season had probably one of the best casts as far as overall, where I don't think I actually hated one person. So no matter who would have won, I think I would have been fine with. The only thing that really bothered me with Ricardo was after he left, in the jury, he seemed really bitter. And so did Shan. And I get it, personal feelings and all that, but you have to. The reason why you like Ricard wants people to play hard. I'm sure he wanted them to play smart, and he was playing smart. And he went against some of his feelings when he decided to go against Shan, but then he turns around and kind of poops on Xander for it too, especially since Xander said he was going to save him.
Well, I think Ricard has good reason to be salty towards Xander, and I think like Ricard didn't throw a tantrum when he found out he was going home. He like pretty much knew it and was like, all right, like let's go. But I will say, when I was watching Xander talk about saving Ricard and then he didn't do it, I was like, don't bring that kind of stuff up unless you've already decided. Yeah. Like what point is there to being like, you know what, I could save you and I think I might, I'm actually like really toying with it, and then not do it. Like that's not game, that's not strategy. I think to me that shows the youth and lack of sort of experience that Xander has. That's hurting people on accident.
That was a problem.
And I think that I think that decision also affected what he did with the Erica situation at Final Four. Knowing how much that kind of affected Ricard, I think he didn't want to like put it out there and let her know that he's gonna save her and then not save her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that was the Erica situation, because he said he was gonna save her and not put her through the fire situation. And then he saw how bad she was at the fire, and he's like, "Oh crap! Maybe I should put her in the fire." And I think the way he dealt with the Ricard situation, he maybe in his mind he was like, "Maybe I shouldn't do this again."
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why he went through with what he told Erica he was going to do.
I get what you're saying though, Saul, about like the way that Ricard's vibe and like aura was after he was voted out. I think he has a similar quality to somebody like Tyson, where like their energy is either one you vibe with or you don't vibe with it, you know? And I think it's one of the reasons that Ricard was polarizing is because the way that he communicates is like very direct, and it's not like very touchy feely. And I think that's surprising on Survivor, where like everybody's trying to be as considerate as possible. Like one of my favorite moments from the whole season was when JD was like, y'all can check my bags. I think I said this before, and everyone was like, we're not going to do that. And Ricardo was like, I am. Like, he just has a particular energy that I
I
think
have no issue with that.
you either are kind of into, or you're kind of like, is he rude or not? I can't tell.
No,
He's very real, and he's just not diplomatic.
It's
Yeah.
not,
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
yeah. It's not even that. I just, like I said, he had no problem turning and voting out Shan. And then he felt like it sounded like he sounded, and I'll say it sounded like he was salty against Xander, even though I don't think Xander would have won either way. I think,
Yeah.
and the reason why we said it kind of feels like they're playing the why Xander lost rather than why did Erica win. It's because the episode kind of played out. This is the mistakes that Xander did in the finale to get him to third place. And,
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. So
I get you though. I get
Yeah,
you. It's sort of like, why am I allowed to do it, but you're not allowed to do it? I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, like I said, if Xander would have continued and won, I wouldn't have been. Xander. Ricard would have continued and won. He would have. I would have been fine with it. I would have been fine with it. Maybe the only person that maybe I wouldn't have been all okay is if Heather would have won, but from what I understand, Heather had some issues with the way that they showed her in the season 2, because apparently she was a little bit more involved. Apparently she was more involved than anything, and we just didn't see it. The only thing we saw was her struggling in challenges and just persevering. And you know what? I mean, if she played a social game, we should have been able to see it.
I agree. I think they vastly under edit any woman who's playing a social game as their number one priority. I think you just never. I mean, you have Michelle is like the classic example. Like everybody on that cast absolutely adored her, and they just simply didn't know how to show us that.
Now, is it?
But it's there. It's there.
And like
there's got to be a way to do it.
Maybe it's just because we didn't see much of them for half a game. Maybe. I don't know.
That's totally a factor. It's totally part of it. And that's what happened to Michelle's tribe too. They won over and over and over and over. So there's definitely a piece there. I did really like, and it was sort of weird to see, and I could see people not feeling great about it, but I enjoyed it as somebody who's been watching the season for a long time and thinks about production, as I'm sure both of you kind of do as well. I actually liked the fact that Ricard was so open about coping with the fact that he was like, I legitimately thought I was about to win this tomorrow, and now I'm not, and I don't really know what to do about that, because you think of like the Robs and the Cerise and like all these people who have been in that exact same position where it's like feels like a foregone conclusion, but a lot of them are not Ricard, and so they talk about it a bit more gracefully, or the way that you're supposed to, and they give you like pageant answers. Ricard's not going to do that, so we finally get like an actual person talking about what that feels like.
Do you think that, let's say Ricard does make it to the final and he responds to people that way, do you think he loses votes because of that? Because that's a double-edged sword, because some people, yes, it's a game, and yes, that's how you are, but some people do want more diplomatic answers, and they want specific answers to what they're asking for. And someone responding that way, you might lose their vote that way.
I think if you're consistent the whole game through that way, you can show up to tribal council that way. And I think they would expect him to answer. It's like a Tyson or a Todd. Like, they were themselves the whole way through. So when they get to tribal council and they're either being really direct or joking around, like, you're like, well, of course Tyson's going to tell a stupid joke in tribal council. He should be taking it seriously, but that's Tyson. You know what I mean? I think they would have gotten the same thing from Ricard. He probably wouldn't have won in a 7-1 vote. It probably would have been a bit closer than that, because I'm sure some people want those pageant answers, but I think more people would respect it. I don't know if you agree, Mark.
What did y'all...
Probably.
What did y'all think of the way they handled the final advantage?
Oh,
I don't mind.
What do you think, Mark? I'm mixed.
I don't mind it because
I'm mixed as well.
Kind of eliminates the just the possibility of everyone or just one person just randomly falling into it. Or I mean, they could have still just ran into it while they're walking around before they go to tree mail. But at least everyone gets a chance at it. Everyone gets the same. At least that, you know. It from what it looks like, that's the reason why Erica was able to win that particular challenge. But you know, it's all fair, and I mean, it's part of the rules of that game. So it's not like we really can't.
I think you just touched on both what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. Like, I like that the advantages this season are largely evened out, with maybe like one or two major exceptions, but there were like 80 advantages, so like there's going to be some weirdness. But like generally speaking, they were evened out. It seems like everybody had a fair shot at everything for the most part, which I really appreciated. They seem to have taken that seriously, and this was kind of in line with that. Everybody had an equal shot at it. Everybody got the same information at the beginning, and so technically everybody was on the exact same footing. Where I'm struggling is like any of those late game or like a final challenge advantage feels so wrong, because anyone who wins an advantage for a challenge, I think nearly 100% of the time, if not 100% of the time, has gone on to win that challenge. So it's basically like, if you get the advantage, you are going to win. And I know this was second to last, but still.
No, yeah, and we'll talk about the rest of the season in a bit, but like I said, I like the fact, and at the same time, I'm a little torn about it. But you know, I like that everyone had the chance. Whether it's good to have an advantage in the final or not, I think I like it better than, let's say, the auction advantage at the very end, because everybody knows it's coming, and then for whatever reason, people would still bid on everything beforehand, and then just wait for the last two people to fight for it. Until they broke it, and everyone just waited till the
well,
yeah. So
there's a million ways they could fix it and bring it back, but they're not listening.
But at least in that way, like I said, at least everyone gets a shot at it. Heather and Deshawn end up going to the final fire making challenge, like we already said. Xander wins this final challenge, takes Erica with him. Gives a little bit of an indication that he might change his mind, but he ends up taking Erica with him, and looks very fast like Deshawn's gonna lose this challenge. Earlier in the season, we saw him try to start a fire, and he I think Nasir came in and just saved the day with his fire making skills.
Ooh. Can you imagine if Nasir was in a Final Four fire making challenge? You couldn't let him do that.
I think Nasir wins against anybody up in that.
100%. Like anybody in Survivor's history, probably, except maybe like Cowboy.
It would not be as close as Deshawn and Heather. That's for sure.
Ooh. Yeah. Do you agree that was the best fire making challenge in Survivor history?
I could not even breathe during that thing. Yeah. I was like watching so closely. And just the fact that there's like only just a couple seconds between them, that was incredible to watch.
My emotions were all over the place.
Can you imagine if Heather went through?
And the fact that they both went up and down, like both fires hit the rope and then came down. Like that's incredible.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
No fire making challenge has been that close since Sandra and I'm forgetting her name.
I know what you're talking about, but in the opposite
and it was
direction,
in the other
right?
direction.
Yeah, in the
Becky,
direction,
that's right.
Becky.
Yeah.
As bad as they were at it, these two were good at it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I noticed that
I think I agree. I think it's the best one.
Did y'all notice?
Winners at War was very good, but I think this was probably eked it out.
Or maybe they had it for Winners at War. Did they have purple and orange for the fire making in Winners at War?
I don't know. I believe they tend to use tribe colors, and I don't think they did purple and orange on Winners at War, right? Okay. Wasn't it red, yellow?
Is that what, I thought they just
like
used
that.
I thought they just used the purple and orange for the final for whatever reason.
No, they just use purple and orange as tribe colors far too much. So I think it's been that many times. And I think the merge color on, I don't know, whatever. But it's frequently purple and orange.
So yeah, Heather goes home. Deshawn saved again. The third or fourth time that he thinks he's gonna go home, and he hangs in there. Giving us the final of Xander, Erica, and Deshawn, which I was actually texting Kim about this during the episode. This is probably, and the ending probably doesn't even support this, but this is probably the better top three in a while, where anyone could have probably have won. At the end of the day, we thought that because of the edit.
Yes, I think now that we have a fuller picture, Erica was gonna run away with it from the beginning, and maybe that's maybe that's why they thought they needed to edit it the way that they did. I still disagree. I think it's fine. You let us know that Rob was gonna win. You let us know that Kim was gonna just let us know Erica's gonna win. It's okay. I don't know if I brought this up on a previous episode or if I was just thinking about bringing it up. I think that the show and the editors are too focused on surprising us and keeping us in the dark. I think that it's swung to a point where they're like, well, we never want the audience to know what's going to happen. And it's like, sometimes it's okay to let us know. In fact, we need to know sometimes, otherwise it becomes a circus and we have no idea what to look at or what to follow. It's okay to let us know that Erica is good at the game that she's about to win. That's totally fine. And it's okay to let us know that Deshawn and Xander are actually bad at it. That's what's so weird to me is by the end of the finale, it was abundantly clear that Xander and Deshawn were both two really young guys that people didn't take seriously because they kind of fumbled their way around. And Erica is this put together CEO who kind of always knew exactly where she was, whether she was in a position to make a move or not. So it's, I don't know. I can't get over it. It's just so goofy to me.
It makes sense now that the reason why they got rid of Danny rather than Deshawn.
Because Danny would have stand a chance. I used to think that Deshawn would beat Danny, and now I definitely don't.
and Danny said, good on you, Erica, for playing the game that I wanted to play. Because as big and muscular as he was going to stand out. And he wanted to play the Erica game. Unfortunately, he was unable to do that. Well, they were able to do that for a while, but I mean, it is what it is. And I'll go back to the whole what ended up the foursome breaking up and getting voted out almost back to back. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Brutal.
At the end of the day, final three. I was like, please let this be the time they bring back rites of passage, and of course not. But I really miss that. I don't know. I know people don't like that sometimes.
Almost.
But I really like it.
I miss it, but I do think I would have been upset if it were in this episode because I felt like, and let me know if you felt similarly or if I'm being greedy, I felt like the jury segment was actually kind of short, and I actually really wanted more from the jury.
It's a lot shorter compared to some of the recent past seasons. Absolutely.
Change it the format again, because before it was all right, let's talk about the outwit. Let's talk about the outplay.
They dropped the categories, which I'm fine with because Jeff did a very bad job describing what the categories were.
That was very forced in.
Yes, no, and that's been a problem with theme seasons. This, even though it didn't have a theme, it still kind of had a theme. The theme seasons, they're always trying to kind of force the theme into the gameplay or into the confessionals or whatever. This season, even though it's just 41, they didn't necessarily have a theme. It still did have a theme. It's the whole new Survivor or the new era or whatever, and it still kind of drove the I guess the story of the season, and for better or for worse. And I don't know. I guess we can let's just talk real quick, and then we can go back and talk about the whole season in general.
Sure.
At the end of the day, I enjoyed the jury speaking. I like the way they speak. I like the way that's now handled better than where they each just got up and just did one question. I like the conversation aspect of it, and I've liked this at the beginning. I know people didn't like it when it started. I'm sure people still don't like it as of right now. I like this version or this particular format better. There might be seasons where a winner is crowned differently, maybe, if this is the format from the beginning. I don't know.
Todd would have had a much harder time if he had to answer as many questions as they wanted.
Yeah.
It was much easier to prepare for one question per person.
So at the end of the day, I thought it was going to be a lot closer. I thought Deshawn was going to get at least 2 votes. Do we know if it was Danny that voted for Deshawn at the end of the day? They didn't show,
I still don't know. I haven't done a deep dive, but Randy actually had tweeted at both Nasir and Danny hoping to get a clarification, because he's like, I'm not actually 100% sure who voted for Deshawn, because I don't think Danny's vote confessional, they didn't show his vote, but I don't think his vote confessional sounded like he voted for Deshawn. Did they show all 8 jurors in the credits? Did they show all 8 jurors' votes?
I don't think they did.
Why? That's so weird. You know, if they didn't, maybe they did and I missed it, but it didn't. It sounded like he was talking about Erica, especially when he said, "You played the game I wanted to play." Yes. So to me, it sounds like if you're going to say, "Oh, everything you did was more intentional,"
Nasir voted.
It sounds like he voted for Erica.
I think Nasir voted for Deshawn.
Which is wild. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think anybody will admit to it, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did the blood versus water thing where they voted for Deshawn. Let me
tell you the soul vote.
Who was
the soul vote came from Danny.
It did come from Danny. Wow. Okay, well then maybe that plays into what I was kind of getting at, is like, it's possible that somebody wanted. This is so vindictive, though. I don't know why Danny would do this to Xander unless he just thought he was doing Deshawn a solid. But like, it does mean that Xander solidly got 3rd place and not 2nd place. And we did see that happen in Blood versus Water, where somebody specifically was like, well, I don't really care that I'm voting for you. I don't think you're going to win, but I do want to be the person who decides who gets 2nd and 3rd, you know? So maybe Danny really wanted Deshawn to get 2nd place. But
I don't see Danny being that way, though,
because I don't think his confessional lines up. And it's cool. Just say that you were close and that you're voting for your friend. Like, just it's okay. You could do that. We all saw you were buds. Like,
You know who I didn't see much of this episode is Tiffany. I thought she was going to be
criminally. She's so good.
I didn't like her in that one episode where Voce was voted out, just because I feel like it came out of nowhere. But after that, I feel like I really enjoyed her on TV.
Speaking of Voce and like pre-jury people, like why couldn't they have a separate Ponderosa for the pre-jury people and then bring them back for the reunion? Like, this was the cast to do it with.
Well, exactly. Are they even allowed to go on a trip? That's like, typically, if people don't know, the pre-jury goes to the same Ponderosa, and then they move out of Ponderosa and go on a trip so that the jury can move in. I can't imagine they were allowed to go on an international trip. Did they send them back to the United States? That seems mean. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't be there.
They could have a separate little area for the pre-jury people, separate from the jury. And
let's talk about that.
Yeah,
let's talk about the vote reading. Sure. I'm surprised it didn't get leaked. I mean, I'm pretty sure it did get somewhere, but I'm surprised it wasn't.
I bet you they scared the piss out of them, because
if this comes out, no one gets money.
Maybe, honestly, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how you could really enforce that, but like, the threat is a big deal. You know, like that. I no one knows for sure, but it sounds like the NDA threat for Survivor is already like incredibly hefty. So if they increased it for this to say like, we're doing something we don't normally do, so let's not fuck around. I could see maybe that's why. Plus, I do think this cast was probably the cast that would be least likely to leak something, because they were so proud to be the cast that came back, you know?
Right.
So maybe they didn't threaten them anymore. Maybe it just was this cast was like, let's really like keep it locked down. I love the live vote reading. Hated that the pre-jury wasn't there. Love that we got like really raw reactions from people like Ricard or whatnot. Felt horrible for the final 3. Like, I felt terrible for them. Like, the moment when Jeff was like, anybody need pizza or champagne? And Erica literally said, I will take anything. Like, I was like, oh my God, feed this girl, please. Like, this is so rude of you. Like, this isn't live. You can take as much time as you want.
So fun.
She got more champagne.
It's so fun to watch them like feed them and drink champagne. I thought that was part of the fun.
I didn't like the chewing.
I think that was fun.
I didn't like the chewing. Like you can
I
see
felt
Danny in the
terrible
background.
for them.
You can see Danny in the background, just like I'm like, no, I don't want to see them chewing. But I like that.
Somebody walked in between. Somebody straight up walked in front of Jeff's shot. I was like, oh my god. I'm not opposed to them bringing this format back. I think necessary tweaks must be made. I think they need to like figure. It felt very like Jeff Probst's like conch shell tribal council. Like we're gonna try something and it's not gonna work perfectly, and then we're gonna adjust. Hopefully, season 42's on-site reunion is a little bit smoother than this one. It was very cute. Keep the cute. Give them food. Give them a moment.
Or give them 30 minutes between things. But you know, what I liked about it is that we get, like, I forgot who said it, real reactions from the moment the game ended. Whereas before, the players are going to be interacting with what they're seeing on TV. And maybe not, and that skews what you're actually. The memory is one of the worst things that humans have. Just trying to just go off of memory, and so
especially when you have something to defend your pride over.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, no,
exactly.
no, that wasn't the way it went. This is what I was thinking all the way through.
Yeah.
No, and not this time around. They don't get to see the episode, so the questions they're answering. I'm not gonna say
it was real.
They don't. Yeah, real. I was gonna say truthfully, but
it was very real.
Not that they're not answering truthfully. They're just.
I think that was especially
with Ricardo.
Yeah, I think it was especially highlighted when Evie was talking. This cracked me up, and I feel so bad for them that they included this. But when Evie was talking about like age, I get why they wanted to include it, because Evie was trying to make a point about assumptions and breaking stereotypes and stuff. But then Evie was like, "And if I said anything in my confessionals about anybody's age, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, oh, Evie, like they didn't show that. Like you just outed yourself as having talk shit on someone's age. like no one knew that you did that. But you could tell that was something they were worried about in the moment, you know. So goofy.
So yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, Erica wins. It turns out to be. I ended up liking the season overall. I can't say it's one of my top seasons. But it's not nowhere. It's nowhere near the bottom at all. I would say it's even.
If you did to top tier, mid tier, bottom tier, where would you put it? If you just purely 3-tier system,
at the top of the middle.
Top of the middle.
Yeah, top of the middle.
What about you, Mark?
It would probably sit square between top and middle. The end game, where we didn't have any sort of funky twist, like sort of effing the game up. I think that kind of saved the season towards the end for me. So yeah, probably right in between top and middle.
I think I'd put it in a similar place to both of you, like in that sort of higher middle, lower top sort of zone. But I think the end game was weaker, not because of the twists or anything, but I just feel like the cast was so explosive from the jump. Like this pre-merge, I think, was incredible. And I actually think, there were a lot of advantages and twists, but this cast like just bulldozed the fuck out of them. Like this cast was just like, we don't care. Like we're gonna figure them all out. We're gonna play around them, and good for them. I hope production hears us when we say that the season was good despite the twists because of the cast, and not good because of the twists. But I think I'd put it ultimately. I think I'd put it in that same area. I'm very high on it right now, and I'll be interested to see how I feel about it going back and watching it with the knowledge that Erica's the winner, to see if that maybe bumps it up or if it just frustrates me more. Like I'm not really sure, but
you know what? Earlier in the season, about 3-4 weeks ago, we were watching an episode, and I told my wife, you know what? For whatever reason, I feel like Erica's going to be the one that wins. Erica or Heather. And yeah, it ended up being. And she's like
as much as we didn't see Erica, you're right. As much as we didn't see Erica, like everybody else is talking about Erica as if she is the threat to win this game, and I wanted to know why. I wanted to know how, and we didn't get a whole lot of that through the first half of the season, and so.
I think they thought that if they just showed people saying it, that was enough for us, but it's not.
This is
Like
It's not.
your players aren't actually reliable narrators. You need to tell us what to believe and what not to believe. Like that's your job as the editor and the story producer. Like that you need to tell us who to believe, because
Mhm.
we've seen over and over people be shown as unreliable narrators. Like Debbie Warner, we knew not to trust anything she said, right? But like in this case, we were never shown to trust people when they said that Erica was a threat. We just were supposed to believe them, I guess.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I lost
Maybe,
my
maybe it'll change when I rewatch it. I'm hoping it will. I'm really hoping it'll be like a fun rewatch with like a new perspective. But
well.
I'm guessing it'll be one of those seasons that I wish we would get a re-edit of.
Mhm.
Let's go back to the beginning of the season. Going back to what we were talking about right now. The only reason why it is top of the middle is because of the cast. I think a worse
So
cast
good.
would have dropped it down, big time. Uh,
Yeah.
the first, I guess the first twist that we see here is that they don't actually show up with anything. They don't have any what's it called, supplies, right?
Any supplies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I guess
They
the Varuni.
really sold that this season. I forgot that in the early mid 20s, none of those casts got anything either.
Mhm.
Like South
Mhm.
Pacific, they got nothing. Redemption
Nothing.
Island, I don't think they got anything. Like
Mhm.
they sold that so hard this season, and I get it. Like they're telling us a story, but I just was like, I forgot that was standard for a while.
Yeah. And
Right.
I guess technically the first thing is that it's only 26 days.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it only being 26 days. The only thing that was throwing me off is when it's in the next week's the finale. Well, last week, right? Next week the finale is day 22. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. You know
Or-
what though? This isn't like an original observation from me, but when I heard people talking about it, I was like, that's so true. Something that I don't think anyone was talking about before the season was the impact 26 days would have round to round, and
Right.
the sort of like lack of healing time that allies would have. So like I genuinely think that in a 39-day game, the alliance of those 4 black players, I think they would have run it. But the fact that they had no time to ever heal from anything anyone did, I think there were more twists and turns and way more paranoia and way less trust amongst allies this season because they never had time to like have their like kumbaya come to Jesus moments that you would typically have on an off day.
Well, also,
Right,
they
but
didn't
that's
have. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. It's just the comparison a lot of people have between these 4 black players versus the cookout from Big Brother. It's just Big Brother. You have a whole week between vote outs to deal with whatever shit you have
From day one too.
and they had that alliance from day one, and here they didn't really have that alliance until like about a week or a week and a half into the game.
And they all came with their own alliances like
Yeah,
on the side, you know?
right, and then with only 2 days between rounds, that you don't really have that time to process whatever drama you have between your alliance
Mhm.
members, and that's the big thing that really tore these 4 players apart, and that's why they couldn't stick together to the end. Otherwise, I think we would have seen those 4 players run it to
Oh my
to
gosh.
the end. Oh my gosh, that would have been something else to see. Like
Uh,
having this sort of Black Alliance go to the end twice in a year, with
Yeah.
like months within each other. I think that would have been incredible to watch.
And can you imagine a tight foursome on Survivor? Like that rarely happens. Like
Mhm.
4 people who are all like, it's us 4, period. Like that's it. Like that doesn't happen. Probably for the exact reason that you're all coming with baggage and other allies and stuff. But for that reason, I'm like actually kind of here for the 26 days.
No,
Right.
I like 26 days. It just throws me off when there's like only 6 people left, 7 people left, and it's day 15. Like, what?
Yeah. Oh, that's super weird. I'm surprised they called
So
it out,
weird.
honestly. I'm shocked that Jeff was like, "Oh, it's day 22. Aren't you exhausted?" And I'm like, "No, are they? I don't know." And like, of course they are, but it doesn't feel like they should be.
Yeah, usually we're barely halfway through.
Summits that were abandoned after the merge, which I don't mind that they were abandoned after the merge. What do you all think about that in retrospect? either.
About which part of the merge?
About the not the merge, before the merge, the summits.
Oh, I like the summits. I think I probably spoke on this, so I won't for too long this time. I like any opportunity where people from opposite tribes can interact, especially in lieu of a shuffle. Like, I actually think that Survivor tribal shuffles have produced a lot of like kind of shitty results that aren't as fun as I think production thinks they are. Game changer, Sandra.
Yes.
So
Survivor
I'm actually
Africa.
100% right. So I'm way more here for the summits than I am for shuffles right now. It's kind of like what the 3-tribe format was for a while. It was like, yes, let's do this new thing and shake up the dynamics. Eventually, I'm sure I'll get tired of it. But for now, like, give us more summits. I'm here for it. I know they were polarizing, but I'm very here for it.
I prefer 2 tribes more than 3, but if they're going to do 3 tribes, I do like the summits. 2 tribes, you really can't do it because it's just 1 and 1. On 3, at least you can still, like, well, maybe you will like one and not like the other or something, you know. What I hope, well, actually for 42, they're not going to be able to see it, but for future, if they continue doing this, I hope they would learn: do not share what you get with everybody back at the camp, because it's going to come and bite you. 42 is not. They're not going to be
this season though.
42 is not going to have
this season.
that
It worked
ability
out
to see. But I mean, because of everybody knowing where everything was at, we get the whole fake idol thing with Leanna, which another twist that I know Doug didn't like.
Oh, we didn't even get to talk about this, and I'll just real quick. Hated the fact that they were limiting people's ability to lie. Love the fact that the knowledge of power advantage was neutralized by the fact that everybody had knowledge of the knowledge is power advantage.
Exactly.
That was like the greatest like egg on your face production moment ever for me. I was like, you thought you were being so slick with this advantage, and they totally pooped all over it by everyone knowing it. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was because they were all so tired or what, but honestly, the fact that everybody knew where the idols were made the idols way less powerful. The fact that everybody knew about that knowledge is power advantage made it way less powerful. Still kind of compelling because she still had to play a guessing game, but like everything, and maybe this is results oriented, but everything was so much less powerful that I'm not that mad about all the advantages they introduced. I know that's a dangerous thing to say, but I everything was, not everything, almost everything was so much less powerful, with the exception of the things they specifically wanted to be overpowered.
Everyone online, on Facebook, Twitter, and all that, keeps saying that there's too many advantages in this season. I don't think that's the case. I think because...
How many got played? How many people actually had advantages?
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's because they didn't work out, and that's why it doesn't seem like it worked out, or there was so many advantages. Because not all of them happened all at once, like an advantage getting.
0 successful idol plays. 0 successful idol plays. 1 out of the 3 idols even got played. Like, a good idol moment is a great Survivor moment, but no one wants, well, not no one, a lot of people don't want the Bens and the Devons of the world to just be like, idol, 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 right? Like, that's not fun. So this is like a remarkable season to me for that reason. Like, I'm not anti-idol or anything, but just the fact that it was so different.
It was exciting just to watch people work around them.
Yes.
You know, that was part of the excitement of having so many idols and advantages out there this season. It's like watching people work their minds around everything, and you know,
it became a tactical strategy game. Everybody knew everybody's weapons, and it was like it wasn't like, the mystery is fun, right? Like, could they have this? Could they have this? But I think this season proves that, like, it's also fun without the mystery. Like, knowing where all the mines are on the field means you have to act differently. Like,
it's
like
actual 3D chess.
Yeah, and you don't have to play conservatively because you know where everything is. It's not like a Big Brother situation where it's like, we don't know what Big Brother's going to do to us, so we're going to play as safe as possible all the time. In this case, they knew where everything was, so it was just a matter of, can I work around it?
Well, you know, the only twist. The only thing that I hated, and I still hate to this point, was the turn back the time twist, the hourglass.
The hourglass twist.
The thing is, Danny said
Yeah.
that if it wasn't for that, it would have been a bit of pingonging with one side of the Lions just taking over with the other side of the Lions, and that would have been it.
Sure.
That Danny says that even though he it was Deshawn that really hated the twist, right? Danny was more like
Danny was the one who was like
Danny.
outspoken about it. Deshaun was the one who
Danny.
was like trying to
happens.
keep a cool head
Okay.
about it.
Okay. So Danny had said and goes he didn't like it, but he did say that it actually changed the game because it made it unpredictable. Because now all of a sudden you have these people who were in power now having to scramble.
Yeah.
I still
Here's my
don't
thing
like
about-
it though.
My thing about that particular twist, because I've had a while to think about it now, right? Because I didn't have to like give a reaction in the moment necessarily. Like, I think when people look at the credit of a reality TV show and they see somebody credited as a writer and they're like, oh, it's scripted, blah, 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 blah. No. Writers on a reality show are here for this exact reason. I think the biggest problem with that twist is it was explained so poorly. And like the fact, I think the twist could have been acceptable, not loved, not necessarily a fixture, but acceptable if the players had more knowledge of it and if it was explained better. Like, I think the fact that Jeff basically lied to them is a dangerous precedent to set. Like, if there's one person you should be able to trust, it's Jeff Probst when he tells you we're doing an immunity challenge and you will win immunity. But I think if Jeff has done weird things in the past where he takes phrases that he says all the time and changes them, and you as a player are supposed to recognize, wait, Jeff just said something weird. What do we do with that? And I think that could have been a moment here. I think if Jeff had said, you will take immunity home with you tonight, or something to that effect, if they had good writers there, and I imagine Survivor has very few writers in comparison to other shows, because Jeff is so used to it, and he's really the only one that speaks. But like, I think he could have done a fake merge like situation. He could have done, some of the final three shenanigans where they just say things differently, and you as a player, as a super fan, are supposed to notice. Like, then I think it could have been a little bit more justified, because then we as an audience could sit there and say, how did you not notice that Jeff was being weird? Like, he never told you this and he never told you that. The problem is he did tell them this and he did tell them that.
And that's a dangerous thing. Right. I just don't know if they have the time to fix that, though, because it's, from the looks of that reunion, it seemed like the next group of players are coming straight in.
Ooh.
And then he said they're keeping some of the twists, and that's getting me sort of worried about 42.
He said that they're keeping the twist, but modifying them a little bit.
I would be shocked. And I shouldn't say this because Redemption Island came back the next season, and they had time to think about that. But, like, I would be shocked if the Hourglass came back exactly the same.
I think from what I heard after Dan, because from what I understand, Danny
was
tore
pissed.
into Jeff, and that Jeff kind of said that they probably wouldn't do the same thing exactly the same way, which is kind of what he said, but it might still show up. It's just that I just don't see the thing is that you're giving the people who won the challenge. And there's one person who's going to be pissed that they didn't get picked.
Mm-hmm. And
then all of a sudden, they get the chance to screw the people that just screwed that person over. Well,
this is where Survivor was getting too cute. They created a situation where there was a 99% chance that Erica was going to do the thing they wanted her to do.
Wouldn't she?
And that's a problem. They didn't think of it from a game theory standpoint, and they needed to. And it's a bummer because they have consultants that help them with that. They just thought of it purely from the TV show standpoint of how do we make sure Erica does this? And that's fucked up. Like they could have, I'm okay with them setting a precedent of if you as a larger group decide to alienate somebody, that will bite you somehow, and you never know exactly how it will bite you, right? They all expected that Erica would get some sort of advantage. They just didn't realize just how bad the bite could be. And maybe this will establish that for future seasons. This idea that, like, anytime you're going to isolate somebody, you should be expecting the very worst. And maybe it's never as bad as this. And maybe that's their long-term big brain, galaxy brain thinking, is like, we just fuck with them once. And then from that point on, they'll always be worried about it, you know?
Well, here's what I would think would have been fair, and I think I would have liked it better, is if every single person participated, were part of one of the teams. One team wins and wins immunity. One team doesn't, and then from there, there's a random draw to who goes to the exile. Maybe that way, the person who goes is truly random, and maybe that person actually gonna think, well, if I do this, I'm gonna screw over my alliance. Right there in that time, I think Eric already knew that she was out of her alliance by that time already, and that she needed to do this. Whereas with the random chance, you're not really getting sent by your alliance, you know?
What if they did a schoolyard pick with the knowledge that one of the two people left over would have the opportunity to change the course of the game?
You send us here.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, but do you think that makes it fairer if they have not necessarily the details, but the knowledge that, like,
something might happen?
Whoever like it, because it's a schoolyard pick, there's a social component involved, and you have, as an individual player, a small semblance of control. You don't have full control because it is a weird sort of mix mergey-ish situation. But you as an individual would be trying probably to get, like, somebody you trust, but somebody that you don't necessarily want on your team or whatever, to, like, be that exiled person. Like, it might create a weird situation where, like, you're trying to get an ally exiled, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely. What I think they should bring back is the chopping block challenge, where, you know, from early on in Survivor, where there was, like, 7 people left, and they're like, you go chop off a rope of this person, you know, where they all have the 3 ropes with the coconuts or whatever, and then they take turns knocking out the ropes. But that particular challenge always always let you know where you stand with your alliance. Until, of course,
I think you could bring it back now. I think it's good that they had a break, because the season 29 cast broke that, just like season 30 broke the auction.
Yeah.
But, like, it's been over 10 seasons at this point.
Yeah, and
I don't think you needed every season, but
people started getting a hang of how to play it, but maybe not do it every single season. Maybe not do
for sure.
No, stagger it around. And that's the thing, is that sometimes Survivor falls in love with a specific mechanic of the game, and then they just ride it until it falls apart. Or,
you know, I actually think some of the things that they did this season that I think could be healthy moving forward, as far as, like, jazzing up the early merge part of the game, I think could be the vehicle through which they bring some of those things back. Bringing the auction back, bringing that chopping order challenge back. I think if you incorporate some of the, like, choosing to play or not to play, risk or reward, that type of stuff, I think you might be able to pull it off. If it were a situation where it was like, you either will compete for immunity or participate in the auction, take your pick, or something, I don't know, whatever. Like, the fact that they've incorporated more decision making in the structural part of the game, I think could benefit some of those things.
What I miss that they haven't used in the last couple seasons is when was it Brains versus Bronze versus Beauty, or when was it that they had the chance to choose the option of the course, the brawn or the brain, you know,
Brain.
the easy
David versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath did a little bit of that. Brains versus Bronze versus Beauty had, like, a choose your reward type situation.
Why not continue with that? I mean, that gives the chance to a team that may not be as strong physically, but can possibly do puzzles quicker. Maybe give them a chance to keep up with the other team. Kind of why I was kind of down on Australian Survivor for a couple of seasons when they did the contenders or the champions. Champions usually ended up being with all these athletes that are used to competing on it, and they would always, like, run away with it. Well, most of the time they would run away with it. and then the contenders were,
The goobers.
yeah, and so it's like, and that's kind of my issue with that. But if you kind of put this mechanic where they get to choose, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Like I want to see more of that. The other two mechanics in this game that we haven't talked about was the shot in the dark, which only came into play once. As far as we know, only once with Sydney. And at the end of the day, if she didn't play it, it would have been a tied vote, right? Because they used the extra vote to actually get her out in that one.
Yeah, she could have tied. If the cards could have fallen in such a way that she could have tied up the vote in order to at least force a revote.
Right.
I'm not ready to get rid of it though. Like I think that's the type of thing that like, what's that?
I don't mind it.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it. It didn't have a great payoff this season, but I do think it's the type of thing that doesn't get in the way of the game if they don't utilize it, but could be very interesting if they do. Like imagine a cast where nearly everybody uses it at some point. Like that's going to be a really bizarre season. And I think I'm here for that. And then maybe after it reaches its most bizarre point, then we like put it away.
Everyone
but I think for now, like it's an okay thing. Yeah, I think it's an okay thing to just have there as an option because I do think it'll eventually pay off. I really do believe it'll eventually pay off. Maybe they increase the odds
the game
at some
that
point.
much.
It doesn't mess with anything that much.
What it does though is there's been times in previous seasons where there's a clear 5-4 alliance that's taken advantage, or a clear majority alliance that's taken and no matter what the smaller alliance does, they can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
this gives them a chance. I don't mind that.
I do think they should tweak it so that each individual player has the same odds as opposed to everybody playing from the same pool. So if all three of us play our shot in the dark, all three of us should have a 1 in 6 chance where all of us can win. That to me will guaranteed create a good moment on TV. Because if we're a tight trio and if we're the three amigos and everybody's against us, right? Heck yeah. What else are we going to do? Give us one round where we all play our shot in the dark. Let's just see what happens. Maybe 2 of us end up safe. That would be chaotic. Like we don't get to vote, but like deuces, What
I think I would like to add to it though is you play your die, whatever. You choose, but you don't open it then and there, or even before the votes. They have to place it in the urn, and then they read the votes, and then they say, well, there's another thing in here or something like that, And everything I just read just canceled out.
Didn't Sydney open it
right before?
She opened it after they voted, but before the votes were read.
Yes.
Right.
I'm thinking that when they choose it, they drop it in the urn. Of course, production already knows what the result is, but they don't actually reveal it until after all the votes are done. That way, we don't know.
Oh, so you wouldn't know that somebody's used it until
Correct.
Votes are being read.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think something like that would work. The one that I didn't like is the do or die option for Deshawn. Well, I don't know.
Oh, stupid.
I don't like the fact that somebody, no matter what, somebody would have aside from a coup, I don't understand why anybody played. None of them should have played that, right? I guess the thing is like you're hoping that you'll be the only one to play and then you automatically win, but whatever. Right. I don't like the idea that no matter what, somebody was going to have a 1 in 3 chance of being eliminated without being voted out.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't like about it. I don't mind them toying with the idea of a punishment for choosing to play, because I actually think that spiced up that choice a little bit. Like when they do the whole like you can eat or you can play, like that's a great thing for when you're in the game. I think it does nothing for television anymore. Like I think they're all too well behaved to make it like a good TV moment anymore. Tyson's not over on the side being an absolute asshole about eating, Right, and most people aren't going to do that anymore. So like it doesn't do anything for us. But I think if you're going to combine the punishment part with that part, so you have some people eating and then all the people who chose to play are risking something, I'm okay with that dynamic. Just don't make it a potential no vote elimination.
What about
Jeff? No one liked when Suri was advantaged out. No one liked it but you. Stop trying to get rid of people without voting. No one
There you
wants
go.
that.
Yeah.
what if
What if we,
the first person voted out gets to do this thing where what he did, right? But one of them is you lose your vote, one of them is you get an extra vote, or something like that. Something where you might win or you might lose.
It's supposed to be a penalty, so I think what it should be is one is safe, and the other two is either 1 or 2 penalty votes. I think that would have been a lot less.
Ooh, Mark, that's brilliant. Especially because he had to do it before they voted.
Mm-hmm.
So it would
Exactly.
be like when somebody in Big Brother gets a penalty vote. It's like, well, wait, do we let that affect us? Because in a situation where a tie might be on the table, that could actually shift votes, but you're still being voted out. There's still a social reaction to, oh, Mark, that
Yep.
just sold me on it. Like
What
now
if-
they have to bring it back with your model.
What
Like
if they
now
do
that's
that?
what I want.
What if they do that, but they also keep that mechanic from earlier where there's no revote? They just goes into rocks.
Oh God.
Or
So I'm a little less enthusiastic about yours. I like the creativity.
Yeah, let's put that idea in front of Jessica Red Eye Lewis and see what she says about it.
get Jeff on the line right now. Let me talk to him.
Oh gosh.
He'd probably be the only
Please
one.
don't.
He'd probably be the only one that likes it.
Yeah. I'm
No.
not opposed to the idea of penalty votes being incorporated into Survivor though.
So that's a big brother.
I'm not mad at that. I don't want a ton of them, but like the no vote thing, I think actually was a little bit less upsetting to me than I thought it would be. So if some seasons they did losing your vote, some seasons they did penalty votes, like I could be down for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Um,
there's you could do a lot with penalty votes.
Yeah.
I can't believe they haven't done that already. So I mean, in the future, I
Yeah.
mean, it would be kind of interesting to see how people work around penalty votes.
I think you all have seen, I think maybe more international than I have. Has Australia or South Africa ever done penalty votes?
Nope.
I don't think so.
No, that's wild.
Nope.
That's honestly very surprising to me. That's
What-
very surprising to me.
Like, and
especially
I'll say,
because South Africa has some pretty wild mechanics.
I've only seen one season of South Africa, and I liked it.
Yeah, I saw the most recent one.
Australian Survivor. The only thing that I don't like is that there's so many episodes that have no vote out.
No,
Or- Where they end up going to. And
It's a lot
switching.
better this season.
It was.
It's
It
a lot
was.
better
you'll
this
never have to worry about that with the US show because our
No.
TV systems are just so different.
Well-
Like they
well-
have to have a certain number of episodes every week.
We did go one
So,
episode
like-
without a boot. Remember? So the season.
Yeah, and people hated it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see
Australian
that very
Survivor-
much.
Australian Survivor, the way they or at least in Australia, the way that I see the reality TV shows is pretty much like the way they do in Mexico. In Mexico, they have the reality shows 2 or 3 times a week, so they have to
Mexican
fill in-
Survivor is, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mexican Survivor's on like 2 or 3 times a week. I'm so mad I don't speak Spanish because I want to watch it so bad.
The only thing I don't like about Mexican Survivor is that they at the finale they do an audience vote.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Ooh.
international versions do that. I'm pretty sure Romania and Turkey, I think both do that. Like because
Brings in money for
I think Mexico's format is like Turkey and Romania where it's like 100 and some days long too, right?
And they bring in new people in during the season.
Yeah, which is
Ooh.
My mom loves
bananas.
it.
That's
my
wild.
mom loves it.
I think it would be a really
Uh,
fun show to watch, but I think I would watch it more like I watched The Challenge. Like I think I
In
would be there
groups?
for like the messiness of it
Yeah.
and less for the like game theory, like the gaming of it.
No, I get you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, My brother watched it too. I don't get the channel here in the Hill Country, Texas, but my parents they live near the border, and they get the
Yeah.
channel for free. They have no.
Ah.
They actually get it off the antenna, so because I have TV Azteca, which is the channel it comes on, but it's TV Azteca America, kind of like BBC America. Over there,
Yeah,
they
right.
actually get TV Azteca, which
Wait.
is where they show it.
Could I
We get that
watch
in
it with a
California as
VPN?
Oh, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an off-air conversation, but
Yeah.
Nasir learned English from watching U.S. Survivor. I want to learn Spanish by watching Mexican Survivor.
And then you go to Mexican Survivor and say, "Yo aprendí español."
Exactly.
American
Exactly.
Nasir.
I took a little bit of Spanish way back when. We just got to knock it back into place. I've got a foundation.
Yeah. So let's I guess we talked about the whole season pretty much already, right? Is there anything that we missed? Well, let me ask you guys this: one person from the pre-merge that you would have loved to see in the finale, at least in the top 5, let's say.
Oh,
JD.
pre-merge. Yeah, I think JD.
I still want
JD
to
has to be in the
see. I still
conversation.
want to see what Voce would have been able to do.
I think Voce would have been a fun player to watch strategically. I think JD is just a standout character. Like, I think JD would have been an absolute mess. Like, I don't think he ever would have gotten better at the game. And
He's
I
just
think
a better mess to watch.
Yeah, I think JD might actually be one of the better representations of what Survivor of the new era is going for. You know, the sort of like chaotic, like frantic thing that's probably inspired a little bit by Tony, if we're being real. But he was so good. I do actually wish we had seen more of Jeannie, which I'm surprised I'm even saying, because she's such an old school player. But there was something about her that I just really wanted more of. Like, I mean, aside from just like, you know, being so excited that the season had like 3 queer people on it. Like, she just seemed cool. Right. Like, she seems like one of the few people on the cast that I actually would be like really good friends with.
It's just kind of refreshing to see her perspective on the game. It's just so much it's just so different from everything that we've seen in the recent seasons. And I think that's why people are drawn to her, because just she thinks very differently from the other hardcore players.
I think you're right. I think every season moving forward, especially as they get more and more dangerous, needs to always be sure they have at least 1 or 2 genies, or I guess it used to be like the Keith Nails, right? Like, you need 1 or 2 of those people in there just to have something different.
I'm just hoping that next season they have more Hispanic people.
It looked like, so I'll be really curious to see how they handle their casting initiative, right? Because like, one of the glaring things this season was like, yeah, okay, great, you brought 6 black people on the show, which is unprecedented, but you had 1 like Hispanic or Latino player. Like, Ricard was the only Latino player on the whole season, I believe, right?
That's kind of crazy.
Where's Liana from?
I don't know. I don't know if she is like Afro-Latina. All I know is that she identifies as black, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so I'll be curious to see how they tackle that, because one of the things that's I think a challenge for a lot of these casting folks is like, I don't think a lot of them really do understand what diversity is. Like, I think a lot of times they think like, well, if we add more of one type of person, we've done diversity. And it's like, well, not really. I don't know, like, if you paid close attention to the season 42 promo, but it looked like there were like, I think there were like 3 or 4 Asian folks on that cast.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, maybe like 1 more Asian person than this cast, which was 2 more Asian people than most casts. You know what I mean? So like, hopefully as they get better at this, it becomes like just a wider, more diverse spectrum of people, and then you will end up seeing more, you know, Hispanic folks on this particular season, more Asian folks on this particular season, you know, some Native American folks, which we like never see, some South Asian folks, which we are beginning to finally see. They've got a lot of work to do, but they're on the right track.
I want to throw in real quick. I said I was going to talk about the foursome that broke apart. I want to say, probably I'm not gonna say the reasons why I believe this until after I hear what you all think. I think it was all Liana's fault that it fell apart.
I don't know if I would agree with you on that.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
If I get that they were trying to get out Shan's number 1 at the time, which was Ricard. And if they would have done that, the foursome would have continued.
I see. Okay, I do agree with the road you're going down as far as like how everything fell apart.
Yeah.
Like logistically speaking, but I think bigger, like I think if that didn't happen, their alliance still would have fallen apart
later
because
on.
of Deshawn and Shan.
Okay.
Those two were literally never going to trust each other.
And,
so if it weren't for Liana
that
time,
yeah. So but
Liana,
being so confident or so close to Shan and telling her what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Shan did the same thing that Liana did to her to Ricard, but Ricard didn't. Ricard is like, you know what, you're out.
It's almost like Liana didn't learn from the knowledge is power mistake of giving too many people too much information.
Yes.
Huh.
So
it's almost like the entire downfall of Liana's game can be summed up in the one advantage that she had.
Which now takes me back to Shan and Deshawn. Shan was upset with Deshawn for playing the way he was playing and being emotional about stuff, but I feel like she was the same thing. She, a couple of times, she kind of, she said that he wouldn't pay attention, but she didn't pay attention to him either. They were like,
yeah, no, those
two
were
the same issue, but because they were trying to say the same thing to each other, like they were canceling each other out. I don't know if that makes sense. Like they were acting the same way and they were being annoyed by the same thing, but because I guess they saw. I don't know how to say it. It's like they were like mirrors of each other.
Yeah, no, they were sort of a yin and yang to a degree. Where like they were sort of opposites, but also doing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
They just were. Yeah, they were just never going to see eye to eye. It just was never going to work for the two of them. And it is interesting to get like as great as Shan was. It is interesting to hear people talk about how she was too controlling for folks. Like we love it. We're like, yes, play your game, like kill it out there, you know. But it sounds like there was some tension as far as like people starting to feel like Shan's doing too much. Like she's going to run away with everything if we don't do something about this.
Well, yeah.
And Deshawn again has so much growing to do, and I just don't think he knew how to navigate somebody who wasn't just telling him what to do, but like she was good at what she was doing, and I don't think he knew how to like work that.
I totally get the whole thing as far as him. He didn't see what he was portraying, and I get that maybe that's not what he was trying to do.
No, he's got a lot to learn.
But and you can tell as soon as the jury goes to vote, he already knew he lost. He knew he didn't have that game.
I forgot that he's like 25 or 26.
He's
a lot younger than I thought he was.
He's actually from my hometown.
Oh, wow.
San Bernardino.
No way.
Yeah, I'm from San Bernardino.
That's cool. I was still rooting for him by the end, like despite all of his like dumb goof ups. I still liked the guy, so I was still rooting for him. But he's got some self-reflecting to do.
There's a lot of people who were kind of upset that they kept saying that the four black people were together, and like how they can't say, they wouldn't be able to say like, oh, let's there's four white people, let's get together and just vote that way. Like, no, I mean, you know what, there's a different, I mean
that happens all the time.
Exactly, yes. But the thing is, I get it because if
it still kind of happened this season.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, and I'm
with
saying
Evie, Xander, and Tiffany.
If I was out there and there was another, let's say Hispanics, Mexicans, whatever, I would be more drawn to them because I know that they know the way I came up. Not maybe every single person, but I'm gonna be more connected to them. I get it.
Yeah.
Does it mean that I would necessarily throw away all other roads and to get to the final? No, I would still have. You still have to play smart, and I feel like this season, quite a bit of times, people decided not to play smart. They decided to play with their feelings, and that blew up in their faces.
Yeah,
and
I think a lot of people aren't ready to confront what equalizing the playing field actually means, because I think realistically you can't expect people not to gravitate towards people like themselves. You just need everybody to be able to make that decision, right? So like you need to be able to decide whether you need that in the game or don't need that in the game. And white people have always been able to make that decision. Lots of other people have not even had the chance to make that decision. Yeah. So like when Deshawn was talking about like, I knew that if I saw one black person, I was going to make that decision, right? Like the fact that they saw 5 other black people, just like the cookout, it was an opportunity they'd never had before that white people have had the whole time. I mean, even on Big Brother, they still had it even when the cookout existed. So it's not that people are saying you shouldn't do that. Well, people are saying that. But like the people who are looking critically at the game aren't saying that you shouldn't find people who are like you. They're just saying everyone should have that chance. If anybody's listening to this and doesn't understand, I don't know.
No, yeah. Just going back to Thailand, Survivor Thailand, when everybody was kind of ganging up on Cheyenne, and to be honest, I'm not a big Cheyenne fan, mainly because of how she talks about other people. She always said everybody was stupid when she was making the same mistakes that everybody else. But
I love me some she-devil.
I like the drama that happened. I just didn't really like how she called everybody stupid while she was doing stupid moves too. But there was this one part where I think they got the chickens, and everybody's like, "Oh, let's eat this," and then Cheyenne's over there looking at the feet and looking at the stuff that people like here in the United States don't eat. And me, I'm like, I want some of that because guess what? In Mexico, we eat all that stuff. So I was like, I would give me some of that. I'll get all that stuff. So like, that's what I get. I think I would have actually gravitated to her in that particular point because we share food that we like. Yeah, that's the stuff I like. You know?
Yeah, more different folks you have out there, the more people have the chance to be their authentic selves, which just levels the playing field in a good way.
I guess. Did y'all want to talk anything about Survivor 42s? We really didn't get much from it. We just got a little.
Not much. It seems like the same, a little bit of the same, and just with a different cast. I'm curious to see how Jeff and production is reacting to everything that's happened. The reaction from Survivor 41 and the reaction from Australian Survivor, because these are both seasons that have a very heavy amount of twist in them, and I want to see if they had the time to react to that in 42, or maybe it's something that they would keep in mind for 43.
I'm sure that they will take some of it into consideration for season 43. My hope is, look, we've had 40 seasons of Survivor. It's been on TV for 20 years. If they want to enter a new era that is faster paced, less easy to take control of, gives the Boston Robs less of a chance of just like grabbing a game by the balls and never letting go, I'm here for that. It's just, if you're going to do that, you have to really, really like fine tune everything. I'm not inherently opposed to a twist heavy game or an advantage heavy game. To me, it matters what the advantages are and what the twists are. And I think they got really lucky that the cast was able to navigate it. But I don't think these twists were fine-tuned enough where if they had a worse cast, this would have been an absolute disaster. If the One World cast had this number of advantages, I mean, Kim already dominated that season. She would have won on day 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's not forget that there are a lot of early seasons of Survivor. It was... We kind of knew what was happening from the very beginning when the merge happened, you know? It was get to the merge with the numbers and pick off the other people. That was the goal. That stopped now, hopefully. And I'm hoping
we haven't really seen it since what, Ghost Island, maybe? Like in a really obvious way.
And even between then, it wasn't happening every single season. But you know, that the twist kind of helped with that. Like you said, they just need to fine tune them. They need to make sure that they present him in a way that will not wreck the game. That, and of course, I don't want to see somebody who has had the power all season find themselves in a little predicament, and all of a sudden they find a twist and they get survived. You know, I want to see them struggle to get out of it if they're gonna get out of it. I don't want them to magically be saved by a twist.
I want to see good players navigate the minefield.
Yes.
Like, I don't want good players to necessarily get advantage get-in, but I think if you have a variety of advantages that have less power than a traditional idol, you would see somebody like Suri navigate through the minefield as opposed to just come up against a wall.
Like I said, shot clock on the
Oh.
idol, or
I love a shot clock idol so much.
Or
They should all have expiration dates, in my opinion.
Or say it that once someone plays an idol, all idols are locked out. Just so you play one at the most.
Ooh, that's another idea I really like, Saul. Like if you have a group of idols that are all found together, 2 of them are nullified when the first one gets played. That would be interesting. It forces you. It motivates you to play it earlier. There's sort of this. It's not a prisoner's dilemma purely, but there's an element of it, and you know that they're loving that right now, right? Like, what is my opponent going to do? Do I need to act before them? So I think that's another good idea that they can employ. But it's those types of tweaks and stuff that they need to be exploring, not, not hourglasses.
All right, I think we caught up with everything we missed throughout the last couple of weeks that we weren't on the air. I want to say I'm glad for another commercial that came out during the season finale for Amazing Race.
Australian Survivor? Oh, for Amazing Race.
Oh,
did you see did they I do want to talk about Amazing Race in a second, but did you all get the Australian Survivor commercial too?
Yeah.
That's wild to me that they're advertising Australian Survivor on American TV.
Well, it's on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
It was really cool. But yes, Amazing Race. Very excited. Very, very interested to see how that pause affected the game. Because I don't know if either of you keep up with Drag Race or International Drag Race, but the second season of Drag Race UK had to shut down production in the middle of their season. And that very much affected the course of the season and how things sort of played out and how people reacted to it. So I will be very curious to see how this affected them. I mean, obviously I hope everyone is safe and good, and I don't want it to negatively affect anybody, but you don't normally get a break, albeit
a year break
for bad reasons, but you don't normally get a break on a reality TV show.
So I wonder if they took them back where they stopped and started again, or they brought them back to the United States and then let's do the final legs in the United States.
I have no idea.
And that's what.
Oh wait, no, I think they kept doing internationally. I think they chartered their own flight. I think they had their own.
They had their own planes.
Which is again still wild. I'm fascinated to see what that looks like.
I'm surprised that they did it though, because around the world it's still. By the time they had to do this, it was still going on.
I mean, they would. I'm sure they had to chart an entirely new path because I'm sure there were countries that wouldn't have let them in, especially because they're all Americans.
Yeah, of course.
And we're disgusting and can't get our shit together.
And that's before the pandemic. But no, I'm excited for it. I don't know, or would y'all want to do that?
Do we want to cover this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm
How many weeks is it going to last? Is it truncated for TV at all? Do you know?
I don't know.
Is it going to be a full couple months, or
I think 12 episodes would have been, or 10 episodes at the most.
But doesn't Amazing Race do a weird thing where they're doing lots of double episodes?
Yeah, there was a period of time where they did that, but not last season, I don't think.
Yeah,
I want to go back.
I'm open to it. I'll say I'm open to it.
I want to go back.
I'm open to it as well.
We'll talk about it. I guess we'll see what 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
something like that.
Yeah, middle of January.
I'm interested how they restarted it, because during the pandemic, I'm a big fan of the holiday baking challenge and the Halloween baking challenge, and that. And for the Halloween baking challenge, they kept it all in one big house. Every week, but I'm pretty sure it's every other day they did a competition and voted someone out, or maybe even with the same day. But they did it to where they made it look like they were moving around from different rooms in the house, whatever.
That's so funny.
Totally different. But but I'm down for it. Well, I guess we'll talk. We have a couple weeks to talk about it, and we'll decide whether. I mean, Mark has his thing set up over there. I don't know if you want to do there. Do you want to do over here? We'll figure it out. I'm down. We'll figure it out. I haven't seen Amazing Race in a while. Like I said, I can't wait for two seasons again. If it ever happens again in a year, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Let's bring back Mexican Amazing Race. Come on, guys. I don't even know if anyone knew about that, but
I did not. I did not.
I did not either.
All right. Well, let's I guess any final words for this season?
Incredible cast. Like it might be sort of a on the fence between top and middle tier season, but absolutely top tier cast. And ultimately, my big takeaways are 26 days turned out to be a positive thing. The advantages, for the most part, weren't as scary as I thought they were going to be. And the editing is still a problem. And that's the next thing they need to tackle behind the scenes. But overall, I was very positive on it. I got the sense I was probably a bit more positive on it most of the time than a lot of folks were. So I had a good time.
Yeah, there was a period of time where I was just a little discouraged by what they were doing on the show, but towards the end, I was okay with it. The cast was very exciting. The game itself, like if it ain't broken, don't screw with it this much. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do with it. The cast for next season looks pretty exciting as well.
Oh.
We'll see what happens.
I'm so excited.
Can't
I
wait.
think I've already got my
Somebody's
crush,
already a
but
meme.
We'll see.
What do we know when?
I know
That's
there's
already
already a
have
meme queen.
I know.
Do we know when that's coming up? May.
Well, it's
March?
a little bit later than traditionally because they have both
February?
Amazing Race and Big Brother Celebrity.
Oh, right. So maybe March.
probably
So it
May-ish.
might be March, but it just depends
March-ish?
on how they're
Okay.
balancing those things.
Well, we'll
they
figure
could
it out.
overlap stuff.
We'll figure it out.
Celebrity Big Brother is gonna be so good. Oh my god.
Oh my God,
I
I'm
guess
so excited.
My final
I'm so
words
excited.
for Survivor 41. I liked it.
Yeah.
I like the cast. I like having Survivor back. There's one kind of mechanic in there that I really hated, which was the hourglass. Other than that, I enjoyed the season. Would have loved to see Danny win. I don't know if there's going to be any returning players coming back anytime soon, but I wouldn't mind seeing him. Although I don't know if he would come back or not, or if they would bring him back. Maybe bring back Ricard or bring back someone else. I don't know.
How long before? I know we were just wrapping things up and we still can, but this is a quick one. How long before you would like to see the new era do returning players?
I would say at least 6, 7 seasons. If we keep going that long, please.
I would probably say longer. I want to say about maybe seasons for like 48 to 50, maybe.
Oh wow! All right.
The only and when I'm saying
give it to me season 46. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, what I'm saying
5
is
seasons,
6, but only
I think it's
from 41 and new. No, don't bring back any.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking as well. There
Yeah,
are
no more
definitely
Malcolms,
people. Yeah, I mean, there are people from like David versus Goliath I would love to see back, but
maybe
like
35, 36, maybe at the most.
35 onward, I would be okay with. But I also would be totally fine if they never brought anybody back from pre-season 41. I think 5 brand new casts, season 41 through 45, I think would be enough to do a
2 people that I would want to see back:
All-star.
Dom and Devins.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would
Yes.
both be interesting. But
Yeah.
anyway,
All right. All right.
So,
Well, we'll leave
that
it
could
there.
be a whole podcast all on its own.
Yeah, you know.
I know.
Before we go into another hour, just talking about Survivor, let's go ahead and leave it there. Thank you everybody for keeping up with us and bearing with us, and hopefully we can improve everything for everyone next season and actually be prepared, a little bit more prepared than we were this season. Mostly my fault, but we'll go ahead and leave it there and see you guys next season for Survivor 42 here on the Spike Shack podcast.
Peace.